I think we should
Robin
talk about...
Williams is fucking dead.
I think we should talk about Fantasia first, because I didn't like Fantasia.
Yeah, okay. Justifiable.
And then we can come together and hold hands and do Kumbaya about how much we love Aladdin at the end in the second half.
Yes.
So we can end on the good note.
Right.
It would have made a world of difference to me if they didn't introduce every segment in Fantasia, and it was just like...
Really?
Like that would have meant a lot to me.
That's the killer to you?
I mean, it's not the killer, but it's like that was a big... yeah, because it's like... I really don't like having the work described to me and like discussed in any capacity like before I watch it. Like even when I go to see like the TCM showings of movies at the theater and they have the guy, here's why Sunset Boulevard kicks ass, and it's like, can you shut the fuck up? If it really kicks ass, it can speak for itself. Can you get off the screen? Like it's really...
But it's not even doing that. It's just like, okay, here's what we did and that's it.
I know, but it's
meant to evoke. It's meant to evoke like going to a concert.
Well, yeah, but I don't really like that when I go to a concert either, because it's like if I have the concept in my head, the sort of the image that is the intention in my head, I feel like I can't actually discover it myself. Like it takes away a lot of the experience.
The thing is, this is like a Disney product. It's meant to be like the most accessible thing, and like already asking like normal people to just sit down.
I don't know about that. What? It's really not that accessible. No, it's like...
Well, it's trying to be accessible to like...
this is not trying to appeal to children, this movie.
Not in that way.
This is like trying to appeal to fucking patrons of arts, really, more than anything. Like I don't think this is really even...
You called it didactic when you tagged
I did call it didactic because they literally tell you what the idea of the thing is.
It's just a sermon.
I mean,
I wouldn't go that far.
I mean, like, and I realize that's a minor component, but like obviously I wasn't loving it otherwise, or else that wouldn't have been a killer in and of itself. I guess I just I really don't get a lot out of Disney animation for just instrumental music. It occurred to me watching these two movies in rapid succession how most of the appeal of Disney animation to me is bringing like voice acting to life rather than instrumentals. And it's like... I don't know. It feels...
I think there is still like something to appreciate there of like visualizing music, especially in the first track.
Well, in terms of that, it's incredible, like the amount of detail that they managed to sort of...
Yeah, and I watched this with someone who had synesthesia, which is basically when you visualize audio in your head in certain ways. And they said that first one was scarily accurate.
It's not what that means, but
that's an incredibly pedestrian definition of synesthesia. But we'll let it
That's
slide.
how it was defined to me.
It is fucking
I'm not a thesaurus.
My dad says you should be nicer to Ryan, so I'm going to be nicer to Ryan. But Soy, you still be mean because that's your role.
So I can still be mean because he doesn't know
is the sensation when two or more of your senses are linked. Auditory and visual is a common one, but it can manifest itself in a multitude of different ways. Like, for example, perceiving numbers as having a specific color. That's one of the more common types.
That kicks ass.
Like, whenever you see the number 5, you see it as blue, or the number 2 is always green, or things like that.
Yeah.
It's not just, oh, I see sound.
Yeah. That's just how it was described to me, because that was the person I knew who had that. Was very specifically about music.
I've got the only case of synesthesia in the world. Listen, I know. I'm not making fun of you. I'm just doing a generalized bit.
I don't
want to bully you specifically too much. I gotta reserve it so that it means more when I choose to do it. It's got more of a punch to it.
Yeah, that's why.
that the aesthetic of Fantasia is like, whether deliberately or not, it's darker than usual for a Disney film, but it's like I'm not invested in it enough or interested in it enough for that to be anything more than just kind of like a dull color palette to sort of tack on to it.
The thing about meaningful. The thing about it is that it's meant to, like I said before, it's meant to evoke going to a concert, and if you don't like that experience, then you're not going to like this film.
Probably not. Yeah, I guess that's what it comes down to.
And that's why I like it. Well, one of the reasons I mostly like the sequences of this film. I mean, admittedly, I can take or leave the things like the intermission, the introducing of the different sequences. I mean, the way that this was constructed, it was meant to be an evolution of the silly symphonies that Disney had done in the past. Like, the Fantasia wasn't meant to be a one-off thing. It was meant to be a series that would continue annually. Like, this was supposed to be the first, and then next year they would do, I think they had in the works Dance Macabre sequence by what's that composer's name? Camille, I don't remember his name. Saint-Saëns.
Cruella de Vil, I think.
There is a cut sequence from the film that was released as a silly symphony that had Clair de Lune.
But I think that's another thing that gets me is, and this isn't the film's fault at all, but how many of these compositions have become like memes in and of themselves, like so overplayed and sort of like their own.
Yeah,
that has an impact. It's unfair and it's unfortunate, but that's the reality of it.
I mean, I'd mostly say that about the Toccata and Fugue.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for most of the rest of them. Like, Rite of Spring, I've never heard played outside of the context of this film. Nope.
Yeah.
The Sorcerer's Apprentice was made into a film with the flimsy premise that we're going to build a movie around that sequence.
Yeah.
You know the one where he fucks up.
No, he does really good.
Nobody talks about the Dance of Hours. People don't. I mean, Night on Bald Mountain, that has come up more of just the first like 30 seconds of it, and then nothing else, just like every other piece of classical music.
Well, there's also the Nutcracker, which is
that I was gonna get to that.
Okay, fair enough.
Also,
that's the big one.
Is overplayed.
I think
and those little fairies are hot, but
the centaurettes in the latter.
Yeah, you're attracted to their childlike bodies, are you?
Are they that childlike?
No, I was trying to paint you as a pedophile
girls.
as a joke.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
No, it's not really. I mean, they're mythical creatures, so their age can be very easily eschewed to be hundreds of years old.
Okay, yeah. Well, if we're going to use that logic, then like basically half of Lolly anime is fine because she's actually 5,000 years old.
I was also going to go on to say physicality as well, but you know.
If you include physicality, you kind of can't. Your argument kind of falls apart because then you have to just sort of like you have like a set of minimum measurements in which you're not a pedophile.
Yeah.
It's like even if there's not a situation that actually challenges that metric that ever comes up, you've sort of got a flimsy bit of logic you're working with. Welcome back to: is it pedophilic to say the thing or to do the thing or not? I'm your host.
Experts say yes.
Dan Schneider. And so I guess Walt Disney was too busy going off to help the Nazis, so he couldn't do Fantasia 2. He was like, "Oh man, I got to do a mission for my church." This joke's really landing.
Yeah. You're really reaching on that one.
I think the sequences in this all vary in quality like a lot. Like I did not like the creation of Earth and the dinosaurs one that much.
Because you're a creationist and you found it disgusting. And
that sequence was originally going to be the evolution of man, but creationists told Walt Disney, no,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Cause
I just thought it was really boring, honestly. There were just a lot more exciting stuff.
I mean, I think it must just be like, well, I kind of thought the whole movie was boring. It must just because I'm a plebeian. And, like, the only classical music I like is basic baby bitch shit, like Impressionism.
Well, yeah, that's the only classical music that most people
and stuff that's, like, so experimental that I mostly like it for sort of, like, as noise or something.
Yeah.
Which is, like, probably on average an easier genre to get, as little sense as that makes.
Like that one Tchaikovsky track that's, like, it's got, like, a loud bang
you
randomly.
Mean the 1812 overture, which
that's
has
not
cannon blasts?
Noise. I'm talking about like Schoenberg or like some of that shit. I don't know. I'm a Philistine. I don't know what I'm talking about. So I don't know. That's all I've got on Fantasia.
Fantasia, big boy. I mean, I used to like it a lot, but that was before I finished watching the movie.
So you never finished it as a kid?
Well, I didn't watch it as a kid. I only knew. Okay. I didn't even know like what Fantasia was. All I knew about it was the Mickey in the Sorcerer's Apprentice outfit.
I mean, that was explicitly the most famous sequence in the film. That was originally going to be the entire film. It was going to be a silly symphony that was a collaboration between the composer in the film, Stokowski, and Walt Disney. But then it evolved into a much larger art project, which is particularly why I enjoy this film more than anything else. Is the evolution of the project. There's a lot of very interesting factoids about this film, like how it was the first film to have stereophonic sound.
So is that...
Oh yeah, I noticed that. There was a lot of moments where they clearly did not fucking use that well. There's shit that when there was some track where it went from like both sides of the stereo to like one side, but it was in the middle of a note, so it was really jarring. And takes you out of it. Takes you out of the immersion.
I wasn't paying enough attention to confirm or deny.
I had it in my headphones, so I knew I wasn't going crazy. But anyway,
headphones that are flawless and it's impossible that they would break or have a malfunction of any.
The first time I watched this, I watched up to like halfway through the dinosaur bit, and then the person I was watching it with just wanted to watch something else.
And then
Jesus Christ!
You were like, man, let me just put on The Land Before Time, because that would be way better than this shit.
And then I watched it for this. That's how I watched it.
Okay, so that wasn't okay.
They showed
this time I watched all the way through.
You actually sat through and I was about to say like, I only watched half of it, and then 3 days later I picked it up again from the same spot.
Yeah, don't worry. I wasn't just bored for 1.5 hours. I was bored for the full 2.
Nice. It would be vicious I show this movie
a lot, but it is a really interesting concept.
It'd be more interesting for us to be bored by it if it wasn't just that we're argless swine.
It's just that like there are certain songs where like even in my head I could like for a movie that's about visualizing like music and telling a story through music with animation, it's pretty bad when like you're thinking of other things than what's going on screen when you're listening to the music. Which happened a lot for me.
It might just be because of our generation's incredibly poor attention span.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's it.
It's true. That's literally a thing. You know how much information we have access to?
I'm just being sassy for no reason.
Well, yeah, but then the problem with that is that like you can't necessarily segment that as a negative quality because it's like that also informs every great work of art we've made is our lack of attention. So it's just like an inevitability in a sense. It's like when they used to complain about kids reading books. It's like, why aren't you spending time with your family? Why are you reading that fucking gay bullshit parchment you got from the library?
Well, no, I realize that this is wholly singular to me just because I enjoyed this film and I do have a personal connection with it. I mean, I have watched it ever since I was a kid, so that probably factors into it too. But it does have a quality about it that I quite enjoy, certainly for its innovation. I don't know about the whole switching channels mid-note thing. I don't think
that's just one little nitpick. I don't know. I was trying to find something to talk about.
I thought it was pretty whack when he was like, "Hey, it's the soundtrack," and I'm like, "Can we go back?"
That's definitely the low. Bullshit? It's definitely the low point of the film. But the thing, there's a really excellent documentary which I probably should have picked for the second dual pick, as opposed to Fantasia. Y'all probably would have liked it more. There's a documentary that talks about... I don't
know why you made my pick for me.
I suggested it.
That was me. I'm the one who had the idea to do the duel, and that's because I don't respect you, Ryan.
So I just said Fantasia as a joke, and then Dunk said we should do a double billing.
I hadn't seen it. I didn't think it was that big of a fucking... I mean, fine. It won't happen. I won't do it.
No, it's fine.
I think
we're going to talk about Aladdin for way longer. We have more to say about Aladdin, I'm sure.
Yeah. Which is funny, because I thought it was going to be the other way around, but then I just didn't like Fantasia as much as I thought.
Well, I don't want to talk at y'all about how the film was made for like an hour, so...
Well, no, now we offended him.
What? We did not offend him. He just knows that it doesn't make for thrilling listening. Right, it does not make for thrilling listening to have a monologue about the creation of a film that neither of us were there.
He had the whole book written about all the little factoids, and we just broke his little heart, didn't we?
No.
Ryan, if you're trying to become the bully, you're really failing at switching up the dichotomy.
I don't know.
You're just kind of entrenching yourself further as the Adam of the show by doing this.
Don't you dare.
I love you, Ryan.
He already did. I don't know where he can backpedal. He already did.
Carl Pilkington of the show. But I'm not as funny because I'm just boring.
I don't think you're boring,
also not bald.
But like, don't try and bully us. We bully you. That's the way it... Well, okay, Soy bullies you. I'm going to try to be more of a neutral, chaotic party from here on in. But Soy bullies you.
Jesse Pinkman cannot be the...
And you can bully me because I can punch under my weight class and pretend to be hurt by it. But Soy won't take that shit. Soy will just like reflect. He'll just do like that fucking diamond thing from Ava. Like you shoot at it and then it just reflects.
He's got his AT field.
He's that diamond. That's him. He's a diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
So wait, is the Sorcerer's Apprentice before or after Twilight Town in the canon?
What?
Because that's Yen. That's Yen Sid, right? In Sorcerer's Apprentice. It's the guy.
Well, to talk about that is Yen Sid because his appearance was based on that of Walt Disney. You remember that eyebrow thing he does at the end? Oh wait, what am I saying? Yeah. You don't remember anything.
Ooh.
No, that was to both of you, by the way. That wasn't just to
Ryan. Yeah, no, I know. That's I was hurting from it. That's why I was proclaiming. It was damaged sound effects.
That eyebrow thing he does, that was a famous thing. Famous thing that Disney did amongst his animators whenever he was aggravated. Yeah, and to talk about that sequence in particular, because it's my favorite sequence in the film, I think the thing that I particularly like about it the most, because it is my favorite sequence, is the fact that it illustrates the use of magic in fiction in probably the best way possible. Because a lot of times magic in fiction feels very utilitarian, very technological.
Right.
There's a post I read on V of all places that I think articulated it very nicely, where it's like, technology is like working with a car in a way, or driving a car, because you know what means to an end you're doing when you're driving the car. You know that pressing the gas pedal makes it go forward, pressing the brake makes it stop, turning the wheel makes it turn, things like that. But working with magic should be not that. There should always be an element of mystery when working with magic. In fact, mystery and mystical both share the same root word, myst, M-Y-S-T, which I think is valid because if there is no intrigue when it comes to the mystical elements of really any fantastical setting, I think it becomes a lot more boring, because then you end up with something like, I don't know, something like Skyrim, where the magic feels very, very, or really a lot of video games fall into this, but that's just by design. So it's not necessarily a fault of their own, but I think some games definitely handle it a lot worse. Skyrim, where you're just chugging health potions, layering down healing spells, and it could be the same as putting on bandages. There's nothing really unique about it in any particular way that really sets it apart from doing anything else, which is what makes the magic in the Sorcerer's Apprentice interesting, because it's all about this apprentice who reaches too far beyond his boundaries and attempts magic that he can't do. And as opposed to something like in, let's say, a video game where it's like, oh, you just can't cast that spell yet. Here it's like, oh, you can cast the spell. You just have no control over it.
You might also summon a Lovecraftian horror or a cosmic horror too.
You might do something you'll wholly regret.
To tentacle fuck the core of the earth.
Yes.
There should be an RPG where there's like, every time you cast a spell, there's always at least a 1% chance of like unleashing some horrific evil that's worse than the antagonist you're fighting. So it's like anytime you use magic, you have to like rationalize this risk that...
So Call of Cthulhu?
I could... well,
That's just where you never want to use magic, period.
Yeah, there are no new ideas. All ideas have already been done, so it doesn't
I mean, that RPG idea you sent me was pretty cool.
Hell yeah!
I saw you were tooling around RPG Maker,
and making no progress because I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't want to put work in.
Yeah, I guess to put a close on the Fantasia discussion, it's a pretty specific experience, and I have a very specific connection to it, and I think, to me, that's what I like about it a lot, is that I think everyone can kind of form a particular connection to it, whether good or bad. Just like with any work of art, everyone walks away from it with a different feeling about it, more so than something like a film with a story, where it's a bit more explicit in its meaning. And maybe not even necessarily explicit, but it's trying to tell a concrete story. But this is more of just like going to an art gallery and looking at paintings, and ascribing meaning from them.
Yeah, very separate appeals. You have to do more work on your side on.
Which is essentially me boiling down that I'm smarter than the both of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what is the appreciation of art if it isn't the proclamation of being smarter or more in tune with the core of the universe than someone else?
You need to fucking play Earthbound, because you would love the Stoic Club.
Okay. Maybe I will at some point.
The Stoic Club. I mean, it's several hours in, but that Stoic Club part is amazing for that very, very same purpose. Anyways.
Okay, yeah, so Sorcerer's Apprentice before or after Twilight 10? This is important for my timeline.
It's before.
Okay.
It's before. Because basically the way they do it, I think Mickey was the apprentice first, and then he got the Keyblade, and then Birth by Sleep shit happens.
Yep, that's right.
No, Dream Drop Distance you actually play in Sorcerer's Apprentice. It's not a joke.
Oh, God.
Oh, neat.
That's actually a sequence.
Yeah.
And you also play the pastoral sequence, too, in that game.
If, honestly, call me when they throw in Song of the South, and then I'll buy it. I'll get back into the franchise when they throw in Song of the South.
The closest you're going to get is like a Splash Mountain, summon.
I mean...
Watermelon Seed Machine Gun.
Well, I mean, also in Dream Drop Distance, you have the Hunchback of Notre Dame, which features the line, "I'll use the Dream Eaters to wipe out all the gypsies."
Yeah. Fuck yes. Welcome back to the podcast where we pretend to talk about a movie, but actually we're just going to talk about Ava in Kingdom Hearts again, like we do every week.
For the fifth time.
Going back to Kingdom Hearts, what did you guys think about the Agrabah chapter?
So yeah, Aladdin, 1993, my favorite.
92.
Fuck. 1992.
I'm sure Soy and we can at least agree that it's the best narrative one. Pretty.
It's
I mean,
up
what's
there
your
for me.
guys' favorites?
It's kind of a toss up for me between a few other ones. I like.
Well, and I haven't seen any of the dark '80s ones, which I probably would like. So I should.
Like Oliver and Company. I think that was late 70s actually.
I don't even know what that is.
Oliver and Company. It's
got
Oliver
Billy Joel
Twist.
in it.
It's Oliver Twist, but a cat, and they're all animals.
That's a good ass idea, man.
It's an idea.
Great. I think Charles Dickens, he was all right, but what he was really missing was some sort of some furry shit for that to make those.
Absolutely.
Fox and the Hound is pretty depressing.
That was 60s because that was when Don Bluth was still at the company.
Oh yeah, before he went off to
make his own
completely
stuff,
rip off other people's art. Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about, and I'm just gonna.
Is that a call out?
Yeah, I'm calling out Don Bluth, dude.
Well, you said he's ripping off other people's art.
Attention, Don Bluth. This is a Celluloid Goblins call out. If you want a fist fight to the death.
I mean, if you're talking about reusing animation cells, that's a practice that goes back as far as animation itself.
No, there was some specific crap I remember when he was like making. There was some after he made Space Ace. There was like some guy that helped make it that was like barely like put in the credits and shit. And he tried to make like a console that was made to play games like.
The Ace. Fucking the Halcyon.
Halcyon, yeah.
Yeah, I watched that H-Bomber guy video, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember his name, unfortunately. But yeah, Fantasia.
I'll be sure to ask H-Bomber guy about it.
Yeah, no, go to his Discord and just at him.
No, don't go to his Discord.
Get through his mods if you can.
That's where I was steering the conversation towards.
I don't want to.
Actually,
I do want to make fun of the H-Bomber Guy Discord. H-Bomber Guy Discord, this is an official Celluloid Goblins call-out. If you guys want a fist fight to the death in the...
Not even the mods, like the people there will call you out for the stupidest shit.
Not to
call mods on it.
Not to get us back on track or anything, but I would say that probably my favorite narrative Disney films, I probably put it up to 3. There's Aladdin, Alice in Wonderland, and probably Hunchback.
Oh, I need to watch Alice in Wonderland.
You haven't seen that one?
Nope.
Oh yeah, that's right. You haven't seen that many, have you?
No, not really. There was a while where there was a long period of time where I was too cool to watch Disney movies. It's that kind of thing where like before I was 10 years old, I was like, Disney movies, what is that gay shit? And it lasted until after I was like 20 that I decided to actually watch these.
You probably actually quite like it. I should have suggested that instead of Fantasia.
Yeah. I like that cat, man. I identify with that cat. He's got that chaos
Cheshire Cat
going on. Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, my favorite Disney movie was Cinderella, and I thought I would be made fun of for liking girl movie, but I mean Cinderella's not that bad.
It's whatever.
It's pretty girl movie.
Mature.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty girl movie, but who cares? It's
I mean, I mean, I think Mean Girls is pretty great, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's a girl movie. That's for bitches.
What about teen girls? They're all teenagers.
So
they are. Well, their characters are, but it's that thing where like high school characters in movies are always played by like 30-year-olds for some reason.
So I want to start off the Aladdin discussion with a fun fact. Aladdin's appearance was modeled after Tom Cruise. That's not a joke.
That's very weird.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Information. A weird Mandela effect thing, or maybe just me not
remembering shit,
not remembering things,
which is all that the Mandela effect is. So I guess it's in a way kind of accurate that he said it that way.
I could have sworn that Aladdin was played by like an actual Arabian person.
No, what are you, crazy?
No, it was Scott.
This is very pre-woke.
Scott Weiner.
Yeah, Scott Weiner. And I mean, he still does a great job. But just all these years, I figured he was played by an actual Arabian person.
A fucking idiot for thinking that. I'm sorry.
And then they brought it back for the remake, and then the woke Twitter liked Aladdin because then it wasn't whitewashed.
Yeah, but then the movie was fucking terrible.
Yeah, the movie was.
And it was like, I love that it's an hour longer too, and they added like more plot points. Like it's like, yeah, totally, dude. It take a tight, concise story that doesn't overstay its welcome and just throw in an hour of extra bullshit. That's a good idea. Yeah.
But like, you know what we need? We need the genie to have a fucking love subplot.
Totally, dude. We definitely need to move this away from the field of animation, which is where the vast majority of its charm and uniqueness comes from. Let's just do away with all that.
Yeah. If there was any Disney narrative film that would capitalize on the medium of animation better than any of the other ones, I would say it would be Aladdin, just because of the appearance of the genie. Yeah,
and the fact that he has to constantly defy the laws of everything to get those bits going, which is like an important reason the film works.
Constantly triggers his omniferity.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard that really retarded theory that Aladdin is in the post-apocalypse and that's why the genie can make all those pop culture references?
I have heard that. My debunking, well, from what I remember, the proof, or one of the points of proof for that theory is that he says he's in the lamp for 10,000 years, but then he says, oh, it's much too 3rd century. Everyone's like, oh, well, that clearly means he was in the lamp, for far longer than that, because it's clearly not. He clearly can't also look into the past as well as the future.
Well, yeah, he's all powerful. Why? What do you mean?
Phenomenal cosmic power.
Can't he read books?
He literally says it.
Phenomenal cosmic power. What was he channeling?
Phenomenal cosmic power, my friend.
Hello, friend. That's fucking Taj from Diddy Kong Racing. Disney Kong Racing.
Disney's like, look, I don't want to pay a voice actor, so can we trick an Indian tech support scammer guy into voicing the genie by asking him very specific questions?
Okay, now that would elevate Aladdin to my favorite film of all time if that were the case.
Well, did you agree, Witches?
If all the actors were tricked in that way, if it's just like,
I cannot
hey, Martin Freeman, can you do like a really good, slippery, like snake oil salesman voice?
Just not even the right country. Just a totally different country. They're like, let's get some of the
people back from the dead.
We need some brown voices on this thing to make it
speaking
really
of wrong, speaking of wrong country, can I bring up the fact that the original story of Aladdin was in China, and Aladdin was Chinese? Yeah.
Who knew?
And Jafar was African.
Not me.
Yeah. What?
Spicy.
He was from Africa. What? Oh my god, he's from Africa? What a
an African?
Well, that explains why he's so evil. Finally, I understand the reason.
Shut the fuck up! I'm not that unwoke.
Yeah, Ryan is easily the most woke of the three of us. Let it be said.
Yeah,
that he's the most woke.
Absolutely. Well, it's funny too, because I think Aladdin is probably one of the best adaptations of the original fairy tale going to Disney film, because pretty much all of the movies that they've ever made that were based on an existing story were adapted in a pretty severe way. Because I mean, any book or story going to a film, of course, is going to be adapted and changed because of, you have someone else at the helm telling the story. But I mean, pretty significant changes were always made. Like, they took out the whole binding the feet and cutting the heel scene from Cinderella. Pinocchio doesn't get turned into a donkey on Pleasure Island.
Yeah.
Snow White doesn't get quote unquote killed 2 extra times, and the dwarves aren't fed up with the queen's shit. There was one time where she put a comb in her hair and a fucking forest grew out of it.
Nice.
Like, what? Okay, and
I mean, they're still doing that today. Frozen, the original book was completely different because the Snow Queen character was the fucking evil bitch.
I want to talk about fucking Frozen because I want to talk about how Disney has always either had or been on the fence about having questionable messages for their audiences. Aladdin is one of the better films at avoiding that problem. out of their entire filmography, and Frozen is like showing that they completely regressed and had no idea why that was the case, like 20 years after the fact. Namely, in the fact that they like the whole point of Aladdin is like subverting the idea that royalty has some sort of greater elevated importance above the common folk. And Frozen is just sort of playing hard into the idea that the royalty has some sort of elevated importance, mostly by having the peasants not matter at all or factor into the story a single bit. They're just sort of out there dying in the cold and never discussed or mentioned. It's just weird to me that like that was almost accidental, that this is one of the like less destructive social messages to give children.
Ratatouille better embodies that fucking message, I can tell you that.
Oh yeah. Which I love Ratatouille too. That's my favorite Pixar movie, I think.
Well, Pixar movies are generally better about it. I'm talking about the classic, you know, like oh god, I don't even know if I want to get into it. Lion King, but then again, Soy will remind you that it's just Shakespeare.
It's Hamlet.
So I guess my beef.
What was that?
He has nothing in common.
Literally just Hamlet.
He's so far from leafy that this doesn't even like.
Leafy.
This doesn't even register.
I'm not trying to be leafy. I just say literally like that because I think it's funny.
That's the only guy who's ever said it that way.
Yeah.
Well, then I guess I picked it up from him.
God damn.
It's because it's a byproduct of not having a chin. It fucks with your speech patterns and gives you a little
This guy's
weird.
literally like 14 years old. Like, I mean, this guy's 14 years old. I'm almost 21 years old.
You do it too well. I hate it.
That's because I'm him.
Oh god. This whole time it was with him.
Shit. No wonder he doesn't like iDubbbz. It explains a lot.
It's not that I don't like iDubbbz. I just don't care about him.
Yeah, me neither. I don't think he's...
I kind of cared about him a bit when he was like shaving his head and putting his hair into a cake. That was pretty good.
Yeah,
that was a pretty good bit.
And when he walked on broken glass.
I figured you would like him because of the amount of times he said the N-word.
Yeah, that's my only metric for liking anyone.
That's why you hate me so much. I'm so woke.
Ryan, you've said the N-word more than me. Like, I don't understand what... You are the most woke, but in that particular instance, you have said the N-word more times than I have, so that doesn't even, like, fucking...
Anyway, the most woke, you sleep a lot.
Nice.
Perfect.
Depression Nap City.
I think this Aladdin has the best Disney songs, like, out of all.
The fucking first song, the intro, is, like, such a slapper, and that whole sequence where, like, the guy's like walking on coal and shit. It's like one of the greatest.
It's so fun.
Things ever.
It's such a great introduction to the movie.
So much energy.
Like ahead of the bread line.
And I feel like the Middle Eastern flavor to this soundtrack makes it a lot more appealing to me personally, because like a lot of Disney tracks I find pretty textureless and bland, and there are even a few in this movie that I find like A Whole New World I don't really care for personally.
Oh, I love it.
Well, because a lot of the original Disney stories were pretty much set in like a European setting, and a lot of their music would kind of default to a kind of classical style.
Yeah.
That it wasn't really. I mean, you have a few exceptions, but it wasn't really until much later when they kind of started to branch out with shit like The Lion King, and this film when they're experimenting with different musical styles.
And like Middle
Eastern music even like The Jungle Book too. Yeah,
is like objectively far more interesting than European music, like historically.
Yeah.
Like the fact that we adopted the 12-tone system for our entire music is like a shame, because in Middle East they had like fucking 18 tones going on in that shit. They had like microtonal bullshit going on, like way ahead of the goddamn curve. And now it's like the only time you hear about microtonal shit is when some fucking pretentious metal band led by some Maynard Keenan wannabe comes in and tries to one-up his favorite band by throwing in some microtonal instrumentation on his...
Well, it was either that or the number 0, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is Middle Eastern music rocks and has good texture and lots of, like, emotional dynamics, whereas a lot of the Disney music normally is usually pretty one note and straightforward.
Even the video game tracks are pretty good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tommy Tallarico and co. At least for the Genesis one. I don't remember who did the Capcom SNES game.
We're gonna get into that whole discussion about which one is better. That's fist fight, because I haven't played fucking either, so I don't care.
It's not a discussion. It's the Genesis.
Oh!
I mean,
going in hard and fast.
I'm not saying that the SNES game is bad.
What?
But the Genesis game, in my opinion, is better on all
fronts.
No,
I'm doing something right now.
I thought for a sec you were like, no, but I think it's different.
I'm doing really important.
I'm talking to my friends. Can you please get out?
Does she not understand the concept of a podcast?
Ask her what a podcast is.
Can you use her as a source for whether or not stuff is pedophilia?
It's a thing where a bunch of people talk about something for a while.
Where I just blurted out without thinking.
Why? After
you're done, can you go inside?
For what?
Because I want to do something.
I think this should be the only part of the podcast we upload. This sequence.
I'm apparently being forced to do a TikTok later.
What?
Now that is pedophilia, ladies and gentlemen.
Because she said, I need you to lip sync to something. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do a TikTok.
You should have been like, is it a need or a want? Let's go into this discussion. And then she would have fucking left you in an instant.
Is it need or greed?
Yeah,
make you roll.
Sure that 8-year-old would understand that.
Is it need or a wish?
If you were fucking raising her right, she would. You fucking asshole.
That's not my job.
To go back into the version differences again, the original story of Aladdin, there were two genies. There was a ring genie and the genie of the lamp. The only function of the ring genie in the original story was to move Aladdin places. So my theory, I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, but my theory is that they basically turned the ring genie into the carpet.
Okay.
Because that makes sense.
Because in the story, it's really an annoying story because the way that it's set up is that Aladdin is just a kid. Like, he's not even a teen. He's just like 10. And Jafar's like, I need a little boy to go into a cave. And then
that's pedophilia.
And you know what? It's not that far off. And then he meets Aladdin, claims to be his uncle, stays over at his house for the night, and is like, yo, let's go into this cave. And Aladdin's like, sure, okay. So they go into this cave, which is just a hole in the ground covered by a rock. And then before Aladdin goes in, Jafar's like, or the sorcerer rather, he hands him a ring and says, just use this if you're ever in trouble. Retrieves the lamp. Aladdin retrieves the lamp, but before he goes out, Jafar's just like talking to himself, saying like, oh yeah, I can't wait to get the lamp and dump this shit kid in the cave. And Aladdin's like, I can hear you. I was like, oh shit.
I was just riffing. I was just telling a joke to myself.
I'm just playing a prank, bro. It's a social experiment. So Jafar's like, okay, give it to me. Well, no, I'm not going to give it to you if you're going to kill me. So Jafar's like, well, I'm just going to lock you in here so you can't leave. And then he just locks him in. He closes the door, not even knowing the purpose of the lamp or the ring, which is both to grant wishes, and thinking, well, I guess he'll starve to death or die of thirst before he figures out that he can fucking get wishes granted.
Real Bond villain style execution there, Chief.
So he clasps his hands in prayer, in doing so rubbing the ring, which causes the ring genie to appear, and then basically uses the ring genie to wish himself home. But the thing that frustrates me is that the only narrative difference between the ring genie and the lamp genie is that the ring genie can't affect what the lamp genie does. Because there's a point, like in the movie, where the lamp gets stolen by Jafar again, but Aladdin can't just wish to have the lamp back, because the ring genie tells him, well, I can't affect the lamp. That's far too strong. I can bring you to him, which I think it was a smart decision for them to just turn him into a magic carpet, because I think it also makes the story less redundant, because it's just like, I have two genies. I can wish for anything I want and more powerful things with the lamp.
Yeah, because that's like really clunky, like JRPG writing, where it's like, you've got the second mystical ring, but this one is slightly different, and it's just fucking unnecessary bullshit.
And to be fair to Scheherazade, if the original story of 1001 Nights is true, she had to fucking make up this story on the spot so that way a wife wouldn't be murdered. So, you know what? Nice. You know what? It's not too bad.
Respect for pulling that shit off.
Worst stories made off the cuff.
Huge respect. Yeah, like with that framing and like, what a badass for actually doing that. For just like, I'm just gonna riff these stories to save someone's life indefinitely as long as I possibly
save
can.
1,000 lives.
Yeah, like
1,001 rather.
Jesus Christ.
Scheherazade, top 5 humans in the list.
We're gonna. This is the first positive thing we have to say about someone on Celluloid Goblins. They're gonna be in our Hall of Fame.
Keep forgetting that's what this stupid shit's called.
Big photo.
I fucking told you it's a dumb name. I've been saying it since the beginning.
Well, it was Mari's title, so I guess we could change it to fucking gay N-word bitch if that would be a better title.
There you go.
That's really good. Hey, what's up for him?
Fucking gay N-word bitch here. We're going to talk about John Wick 3. Man, that movie kicks ass, bro. It's a kick-ass fucking movie. Let's do an episode within an episode. Yo, what's up, guys? Today we're talking about John Wick 3. That movie, man, that shit was crazy when he was like loading that revolver and he shot that guy, bro. Oh man, I love John Wick movies. I can't wait for John Wick 4. Coronavirus better get the fuck out so we can watch John Wick 4.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a good episode. So Aladdin, it's good. I think it's stupid that he's in the prison and the guy's like, yeah, no, it's cool. I know a way out of the prison. It's fine. And it's like, you're going to ask him why he stayed in the prison? He was waiting for some young, nubile, Tom Cruise-looking prince to handle his side quest for the Cave of Wonders. That's why he was just sitting in the fucking prison.
Yeah. I like to think that Aladdin was pretty fishy about the whole offer anyway, but he just didn't call it into question because he would be leaving the prison. I like to think that, but yeah.
That would be fine. But then when he's like, give me the lamp first, and it's like, no? How about you fucking pull me up for...
The thing that I don't understand is why was he like, okay, I've got, magic, even though I'm not like a sorcerer or anything. I've got magic. I can assemble a disguise, but I need my parrot to be the fucking hump on my back.
Yeah.
He's always got him with him.
It's a little...
Well, I think that's worth it just for the scene where Iago's like sweating and he's like...
Oh no, I know why they did it. It was for the joke. I just like to I just like to picture the scene where it's like, all right, my disguise is complete. Iago, come here. Yeah. What do you mean? I don't need to go in there.
Everybody talks about
I'm dying in here.
How awesome Robin Williams is in this. How it's probably like my favorite thing that he's been in. Or my favorite like work of his, personally. Gilbert Gottfried is also amazing as Iago. Brilliant cast.
As is Martin Freeman. Martin Freeman is also awesome as Jafar.
Yeah, sure.
Patience, Iago.
Perhaps the dumbest thing about this and like all Disney movies is how like you look at a guy like Jafar and you're like, yeah, let's hire that guy. He looks nice.
Well, maybe he didn't always look like that, Maybe he just kind of adopted it later in life.
Plus, I mean, you wouldn't want to get sued for discrimination.
That's true.
Their facial hair and their outfit.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think of Princess Jasmine?
She is fucking a dime piece, dude. She's like one of the double S tier Disney princesses. I prefer Ariel personally, but they're both way up there in the higher caliber.
Young, teenage.
Well, I like that she's a dumb, stupid bitch and she makes bad decisions. That's like
I like how she signs her literal eternal soul away, which funnily enough, in the original story of Little Mermaid, mermaids don't have souls and they don't go to heaven.
Oh, nice.
Also, because she's hot. That's another component of why.
Well, to tangent a little bit, the divergence in The Little Mermaid is that the sea witch in that story isn't the villain. She's just kind of an enabler. She's just like, well, I need to cut out your tongue for the spell. So she's like, okay, I'll do it. And she says, if you ever touch seawater again, you'll turn to sea foam. But basically, the story ends with the prince falling in love with this other lady, and so Ariel just commits suicide by jumping into the water. I remember, I'm forgetting something, but basically, yeah, I think she ends up sacrificing herself because the one lady's like about to fall off the ship or something into sharks or whatever, but Ariel dies, and then her quote-unquote soul drifts up to heaven, and God literally tells her, well, normally you wouldn't go to heaven, but since you died sacrificing yourself, we'll let you work to get entrance into heaven.
Wait, but she didn't sacrifice. She just killed herself because she was sad that it didn't happen. It wasn't like she was saving someone else.
Well, that's the thing. I wasn't sure what it was because there are some versions of the story where it's different, but I didn't remember the original story. I think originally it was that she was just sad, but in that sense, I think God just took pity on her. It's just like, yeah, that's kind of fucked what happened to you, man. We'll let you.
God just wanted to get head from Ariel.
Yep, yeah, absolutely. That's what God wants.
I mean, why else would he make humans if he wasn't like what else would be the point? He's probably just watching the babes shower, and that was like his primary.
That's what the angels were doing. Read the Book of Enoch. Yeah. That's what the angels were doing because they come down and they fuck, and that's literally they come down and they're like, these human bitches are hot. We'll trade you this fat knowledge of metallurgy and makeup.
This sounds great. I'm in.
Read the book. Read the Book of Enoch.
Dude, the Bible sounds fucking sick as shit, dude. I need to read. This seems like the best book ever written. No wonder it's the bestseller. It's so fucking cool.
Yet again on our 20th tangent today.
That's what we do here. Listen,
making it 21st. Rest in peace, Gene Ditch, director of Tom and Jerry and Popeye, died today. Apparently.
Look, it is sad that he died, but I'm gonna say that the episodes that he directed, I'm not particularly a fan of.
Did he die sitting on the train tracks waiting for a train because his girlfriend dumped him?
He did not. He came in after that, actually.
Well, yeah, because that's like the greatest episode of the whole series. So yeah. It's not like you worked on
Remember there was like a creepypasta around that or some crap?
You don't need a creepypasta. It's like already creepypasta material.
It's already just depressing, and people were saying that's like the last episode of the show.
Well, it's the last one that I think was worked on by Warner Brothers Studios.
Hell yeah.
So it's the last one that people officially considered to,
the last one
I guess,
was
be quote-unquote canon. Because after that, people like Chuck Jones took his hand at doing Tom and Jerry for a while, and then it was Gene Ditch who had his series, which I think was the shortest, and that was in like the 60s, which was way after their time.
Yeah. I much prefer Chuck Jones stuff just because that's what was on Boomerang when I was a kid, when I was watching it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, funny thing about Robin Williams, I know I talked to Dunk about this. I'm not sure if Ryan was present for it too. I think you were, actually, because you were playing Crash at the time.
Yeah, I was.
But originally when they offered the role to Robin Williams, and I mean, Disney had considered a league of other comedians for the role, including people like Eddie Murphy. But they eventually settled on Robin Williams. Robin Williams was pretty iffy on the role initially, but then they had Eric Goldman animate some of his stand-up bits, some of which you can see like a proto-genie design where you had like a turban on and really pointed ears, which is and it's essentially just like 5 or 6 seconds of a stand-up bit. And they showed those to Robin Williams, and he loved it so much that he immediately, well, maybe not immediately signed on, but because there's that whole contract debacle that people like to bring up, where he was signed on for, I think it was $50,000 or something. It was pathetically low, but it was an exchange that he wouldn't be advertised in the film. Well, in like the film's advertising, he wouldn't be like top billing. But then, of course, Roy Disney was like, Robin Williams is the blue smoke in a bottle.
and then just the entire world of cartoon animated TV.
Someone watched the Lindsay Ellis video, but I bet you haven't watched the rape rap yet.
I mean, he already said that he already posted that video, so I'm not gonna knock him.
Well,
for that
and like I kind of already knew, but I didn't know like had such a big effect on. That was what had such a big effect.
You didn't know about the Robin Williams cameo in the rape rap.
Yeah, it wasn't like the film Toys or Patch Adams or RV from 2006, where Robin Williams saw it or read the script and he was like, "This is amazing. I have to sign me up right now. I have to be in this movie." It's an amazing screenplay, and I love it.
Yes,
I love it a lot.
Turned out he just wanted to say the N-word.
I wonder if he killed himself because he was watching like RV and he was like, "Oh, Jesus."
Well, he was watching RV, Jack, Flubber,
just like back to back. Yeah.
All at the same time.
This was like a marathon. Like he was going to kill himself, but just to really hype himself up for it, he had a marathon.
To push him over the edge. He had a playlist ready to go of his greatest hits.
God. Rest in peace, pal. We make fun of you. He's cool.
Something that a little other interesting tidbit that I remembered from an old Nostalgia Critic video was that The Thief and the Cobbler, which was in production still at the time of Aladdin's release,
the Duke Nukem Forever of animation.
Aladdin borrowed some thematic and style elements from it, and then after Aladdin released, Thief and the Cobbler borrowed thematic and design elements from Aladdin. What?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
That's what happens when you're making a movie for like 30 years.
Thanks, what was his name? Not Roger Corman. Roger Williams. Guy who did the animation behind Roger Rabbit.
Oh.
Yeah. And Raggedy Ann, a musical adventure, but we don't talk about that.
Does he? Does the rabbit fuck Jessica in the movie?
Not shown, but it's implied as fuck.
Wait. Oh. I was joking. I didn't think that was actually gonna. Well, I gotta watch this movie though.
I never really liked Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Well, I mean, it's a great NES game, but I don't know about the movie.
Is it?
Yeah, it's amazing, dude. It's like that and Fester's Quest.
I think everyone just watches it because they're friggin' horny.
Well, I think it's it's like an open world kind of sleuthing game where you have to go around and collect clues and.
Like Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
No, it's a lot better than Dick Tracy.
What? Dick Tracy's great. Come on, man.
Dick Tracy doesn't look that bad.
I can't keep up the gaslighting.
I bet you don't even like fucking Jaws on NES, dude. I bet you don't even appreciate that sort of like forward thinking.
I bet you don't even like Ghostbusters on NES.
Yeah, what? Because
you
can't mash.
Of going up those stairs.
So you fucking hate on the game. What about Ghostbusters ROM hack that turns?
That sounded like he was stuck inside someone's ass.
What about a Ghostbusters ROM hack where you capture Robin Williams' ghost?
Oh no!
but he's personified as the genie.
You go into an apartment and RV is on. The DVD of RV, the case is open. You got it for $1 in the clearance at Half Price Books.
Zelda is crying over her new Nintendo 3DS with Ocarina of Time 3D.
Zelda just got back from the shoot of
$39.99 MSRP.
What's that shitty movie? Like that shitty "lol, we're so geeky" movie that she was in. You know what I'm talking about?
I have no clue.
I didn't even know that she had a film career.
Fuck,
I knew she had a Twitter career.
So, another interesting quote-unquote beta element or dropped element of the film is that Abu was originally supposed to be 3 other friends of Aladdin named Babkak, Omar, and Kasim. And it's interesting because although they were dropped for the film and there are songs that feature them, for the Broadway production they actually brought them back and they dropped the character of Abu. Damn. So you have the emblematic song Babkak, Omar, Aladdin, and Kasim, which is basically just them performing in the street for money. And then there's High Adventure where Aladdin has to, Aladdin's friends have to rescue Aladdin from prison. Because that was a major shift as well. Originally, Aladdin was thrown into prison, and that was his second wish, was to escape from prison, I think. Rather than escape from being drowned.
Why wouldn't you just wish for, like, the entire prison system to collapse and then free everyone? Wouldn't that be a better, more virtuous wish?
Or just wish for the ability to grant your own wishes, but not become a genie.
Or what about, could you wish for like a skeleton key that could just open any fucking locked door? Because that would be like the best wish ever. Just be like opening people's houses and shit, grabbing a sandwich.
Well, that's the thing with a pretty rules light magic system like this, is that also Aladdin's not the most creative lad.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, he uses his wishes pretty sparingly. It's certainly better than Kingdom Hearts, where it's just like, what's my first wish? Kill all the Heartless.
Yeah, like, dude, are you serious? We're right here. Like, I'm over leveled. Just fucking shut up. We'll take care of it.
Just give us like 10 minutes. It'll happen.
I just gotta mash X for a bit, and that's it. It was pretty clever how he like insulted his ego into giving him the free wish of getting out of the Cave of Wonders.
Yes.
That rocks.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite.
And he got him to whip out his Robert De Niro impression.
Yeah, it's a great sequence.
I think my favorite impression biz is Rodney Dangerfield bit. I'm losing to a rug.
I can't believe it. I'm losing to a rug. My wife's gonna hang me out to dry.
I just love the animation on it. His face is so stupid because it's Rodney Dangerfield's dumb face.
Wow. Why would you say that to him? He's right here.
What? Rodney Dangerfield?
He's looking right at you.
Someone do an impression.
Oh wait, no, he isn't.
Oh no.
Oh, because of the eye thing. I get it. That's good.
Got him.
We should watch
Nye.
We should watch Old School at some point. That's a really good.
We should watch Natural Born Killers, where he's like a creepy, abusive rape dad.
Does he still crack one-liners while he's raping?
Well, they don't show him raping, but I'm pretty sure he does crack one-liners because, like, Natural Born Killers is like that whole sequence is like a fake sitcom where it's like it's a fake sitcom situation where it's heavily implied that the female lead is getting abused by the. It's not even just implied; it's like stated. I think.
Whoa,
Natural Born Killers doesn't exactly.
Finger trap.
Natural Born Killers doesn't exactly work with subtlety at any point during its runtime. But
I like how Dunk suggested the idea of having two films on to get us to stay on topic more, and
well, it wasn't necessarily for that. It was just that like we run out of stuff before.
No, I'm not. I'm not. This isn't trying to knock it. I'm just saying I think I've observed more tangents in this span of time than any other moment. Well, I think just because at the end of the day we're gonna. It's mostly just us agreeing that the film overall is in excellent quality in pretty much every measure.
Well, like, and if we see a good bit, we got to chase it. You know, it's like you got to get that. You got to go after it. It's like when you see a beautiful princess-looking girl in the marketplace, and you got to go keep her from getting her arm chopped off.
When I was a kid, I thought that if she got her arm chopped off, then her arm would be filled with a bunch of worms.
What?
That's really smart, dude.
What? That's super... Well, wait. Was that specifically in this film, or was that just in general? Like you?
No, yeah, specifically in the movie. For some reason, I didn't know how like the body worked or anything, so I just thought that if her arm did get chopped off, then like a bunch of worms would come out.
Genie, I want you to turn Jasmine's right arm into a bunch of worms.
Because that's a very specific fetish that I have is to get a worm arm hand job from Princess Jasmine.
You feel all the little worm bits all over it.
Genie, I got this wood block painting from this island called Nippon.
Not. I've lost the thread. I don't know where we are.
No.
Because the Japanese have depicted octopus sex for hundreds of years.
Oh, that's cool. Man, Japan fucking, aside from the rape and the suicide, Japan fucking rocks, dude.
Yeah.
I guess those things are kind of inseparable when you really think about it. But.
Yeah. I don't know if it's applicable when you're talking about Japanese history, but Japanese history is pretty sick.
Yeah.
As a part of their creation myth, I think their elder god, when he pulled his sword out of his sheath for the first time, the molten iron that splattered onto the ocean is what formed the Japanese islands.
That makes sense, because it does look kind of splattered out.
That is so racist of you to say that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the racist one here, guys.
Your N-word counts higher than mine.
Not live on record. Right? You have no way to prove that.
Yeah, you can pretend that you don't remember saying the N-word, but you do, and it will haunt you.
I was in a fugue state.
Who was the other personality?
The racist part of me that.
Oh, so you have a racist part of you.
Was this your Roxas?
Yeah, my racist.
Was this your?
Roxas,
it's Nixar. Nixar, that's your. That's your nobody.
That's really good because it actually fits the Organization 13 naming convention, but it also is almost racist. It's a perfect.
That was the idea.
It's really fucking good.
For everyone at home, you spell it Nyxar.
Not Nigsar.
Whoa! What the fuck, Ryan? Jesus Christ, man!
What the fuck, dude?
Sorry, did I offend you, Bentley?
that was DSP, idiot.
Series, Sly Cooper
Bentley doesn't sound like that.
2.
Bentley sounds cool and smart, and not like a fucking mongoloid idiot who doesn't know.
Sly, you have
rations.
Sly, you have to use your first wish to wish yourself to become a prince.
Sly, why despite only making up 13% of the population...
Shut up! Shut up!
Genies account for more than 50% of the violent wishes.
Gee, Bentley, you ever think about how they're the only ones that have the capacity or desire to grant wishes?
Sly, did you know
All I'm saying is that those wooden doors on those ovens wouldn't have been able to withstand the heat.
My bit's not gonna top.
Gee, Bentley, I don't know if I like
the smoke.
Sly, did you know that rich Arabians commit more crimes than poor?
If you've ever looked at the design of the genie's nose, you'll notice that it's much larger in proportion to a normal human's nose, and that's because he is comprised of the smoke of all the dead Jews burned in the oven.
Oh man,
Press the R1 button with your binocucom out, and you'll take a picture of the genie and capture him inside. Once you're positioned over Neela's headquarters, release the pictures down the chute, and she'll be in for a wild time.
Fucking God.
I'm so glad we got Nazi Bentley for the pod. I remember riffing out Nazi Bentley like months ago, just on the server, and I'm glad we managed to get. My dad is going to appreciate Nazi Bentley, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that I remember reading about Aladdin is that a lot of the designs were actually kind of based around chess pieces. If you look on the Wikipedia page, they have a picture of it. They have like kind of a breakdown of all the styles, how each character was kind of based around one or two distinctive shapes. Like Aladdin's shape is meant to be more of like a figure 8. Jafar's design is like an oval with a triangular shaped body. The Sultan is like 2 giant circles, etc., etc., which I think is quite interesting.
Yeah. It's hard for me to like think of characters as like fundamental abstract designs like that, to just be like, oh yeah, total figure 8, that fucking guy.
Well, that's a big thing in animation.
I know, but that's why it's crazy. That's why it's nutty.
Well, I mean, yeah, it is such a like the most basic idea of a drawing, because I mean, in most art schools, well, not art schools, but in most art books that I've read from my experience, whenever they teach you about drawing, the first thing you always draw is like the action lines, which mostly comprises of like a circle with the general shape of the body through a line, and then from there you draw the rest of the character.
But I guess it's just interesting how much of like the character's personality you can define at that fundamental of a level if you're ready to, like, just sort of like working with the I don't know, just like the concept of the way that they're going to exist without even any more specifics to it than that. You can already define the very core of the archetypes that each character is going to occupy.
I mean, I think that just boils down to that's just the core idea behind animation itself. Because what is even animation? The etymology of the term literally means living motion. Meaning life. Mation meaning motion.
We're just going to be an anime podcast from here on.
Aniplex.
It's a bit of
next week. Gaunt's.
It's a bit of a leap, but
we're gonna watch all of Gaunt's, and I'm gonna try not to fucking cringe myself to death, and we're gonna talk about
literally the cringiest anime I've ever seen in my life. The guy who made this is 24 years old. I'm only 21, but come on.
This girl's only 17 years old, and she's already committed 3 mass genocides already. What the fuck is up with that?
This girl's only 16 years old, and I've already masturbated to her 20 times today.
That's a lot. You'd be drying up by the end of that.
A day? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess if you segmented it over 24 hours, it's not too bad, but it's still pretty bad.
You just feel coming dust.
It's like dust. It's like that Louis C.K. bit where he was talking about one of his friends who was just like, I'm going to drink more milk so that way I have more available semen. That's just that's not how that works. It's not like your body's just going to be like, oh, you got milk? That's cool. We'll just shoot that. Just keep going. Keep it going. Seamless.
It's I think if you eat a specific type of yogurt or something, specific things, it can cause an increase in the amount of semen you produce.
Yeah, there used to be a copy pasta about that, but
yeah.
If you
fit a lot,
semen dies at room temperature, so if you keep your balls cold, you'll keep more of them alive. So
yeah,
that's why your balls are a much lower temperature than the rest of your body, unless they're sweaty.
Welcome back to the Sweaty Balls Play-by-Play podcast. I'm your host.
Play by penis.
I'm your host, Johnny Sins, and today we're talking about
of all male porn stars.
The cure for coronavirus is gay sex. Tune in for more information at 8 p.m.
America can't handle the truth about the cure for
Christianity rate drops to 0%.
Dude, I love that people are protesting by coronavirus isn't real, and they're just hanging out in very close proximity to each other. I wish they would just make out to be like, look, it's super not real. We're fucking over here, and we don't.
I love that one thing that was
then at the opposite end of the scale, where I've seen religious fundamentalists preaching in the street that the coronavirus is God's wrath upon the earth.
I fucking hope so, man. I'm ready. I'm ready for this bullshit.
Which is there's no way. I mean, I can't really disprove that. That's the problem with arguing about God, is that since he's omnipotent, I can't really challenge you on that. But at the end of the day, it's not. What are you trying to prove?
I mean,
it might have come from God, but isn't that the end of the discussion? What are we trying to do? Ask for his forgiveness? The plague's already been released. He's not going to bring everyone back.
Yeah. He sure as hell didn't bring everyone back after he genocided those people with the fucking flood. He was
in fact, that was the entire point of that.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's just doing another memory wipe.
Aladdin is very good. I like it a lot.
It is.
It's got a lot of soul. It's animated very well. I think it's very fun. It's a good kids movie. It did not need the 2 sequels in the TV show.
Unfortunately, fucking...
I think the TV show's fine. I mean, they made TV shows out of a lot of 90s film, 90s era Disney stuff. Little Mermaid had a TV show. Hercules had a TV show. Aladdin had a TV show.
Dude, you know who's hot as shit is Meg from Hercules. She's is high tier. That little spunky hair thing she's got going on. She's got more sass than usual. That's what I like about her.
She's a better Lois Lane, to be sure.
Hell yeah.
It's too
because that film is literally the story of Superman.
Pouty diva lady. Sense. I don't know. I prefer Jasmine.
Jasmine's pretty good.
She's got a cool design. I like her the blue.
Yeah, sure.
Which is not the color of Jasmine, I don't think.
No.
I think Jasmine's more of a green. Hold on, let me see.
Actually, I don't know. Because there is that Woody Allen movie, Blue Jasmine.
Oh, Jasmine is kind of an off-white, more of a yellow. Never mind.
Referenced prominently in the great television show Riverdale. Next week, we're going to watch all of Riverdale.
No, we're not. I do think there are TV shows we should watch, but they're just too much. It's got to be something separate.
It's unfortunate that Square Enix cannot make a good Agrabah boss fight to save their fucking lives. They all suck and they're all too easy. Like,
the Jafar boss sucks.
Attack the lamp.
Like, okay, do you want it to be easier than all of the previous boss fights in the game? I guess you do. Because you can just keep fucking mashing that lamp into oblivion. You never even have to fucking think about it.
I think the best part is just running around in Aladdin world. I think overall, Agrabah's not a great world.
I think it's pretty good.
The music's good.
I think it's really good. The verticality of it is really nice because there's like tons of chests.
Yeah.
High above this.
I'm talking about
KH1 because that's a better video game.
Yeah.
2,
it's got that weird flying segment that just doesn't work
because
that well, in my opinion.
No world in KH2 is nearly as interesting as they are in 1 because there's not as much hidden bullshit.
They're focused on a lot of gimmicks actually now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's focused on the primary gimmick of the reaction commands.
Which it's absolutely a gimmick.
Because, I mean, the thing is that the environments are bigger, but it has the 2E problem of they don't fill it with stuff. I mean, they fill it with
mostly empty.
They fill it with some stuff, but it's like in the Agrabah segment, there are those parts where you have to destroy the stands to get to the chests. But once they're gone and you've gotten all the chests, it's just huge. That is
the closest it gets to KH1, like environmental exploration and design. Whereas, like, if you go to Agrabah in the first game, like, if you want to get all those chests, you're going to be high jumping around from rooftop to rooftop, coming back and glide, etc., etc.
Yeah, I was about to say, there are some that you definitely need glide for.
Yeah, and there are some that, my favorite kind is when it's like, you probably should have glide, but if you're the sickest fucking platformer ever, you can just bypass that whole shit and grab it first time you're there, which is like my favorite thing to do in that game. There's even one Trinity mark you can get all the chests you're supposed to get from that Trinity mark just by jumping well and just bypass that entire process. Welcome back to the Kingdom Hearts podcast. I'm your host.
I mean, it's somewhat relevant. I think it's interesting how it's interesting how Robin Williams. I don't think he was ever opposed to the idea of doing the second film, but he was still peeved at Disney for screwing him over on the contract because he came back for the third sequel, or the second sequel, I should say, the third film overall. And of course, he couldn't do the TV show because that would require him to show up like all the time. But he's an actor, so it's not going to happen.
He's got to.
I think it was interesting. I think it was interesting how they chose Dan Castellaneta to fill his shoes. I think he does a good job, but comparing him to Robin Williams is definitely unfair.
Yeah, for sure.
As with any other person who's voiced the genie, which there are like 2 other people, but they've done it like once. Like there was that one Make-A-Wish video that Disney did, and they had one guy voicing him, and that was the only time he ever voiced him.
To do Genie.
Yeah, they got Dave Bautista.
There's definitely
Alan Rickman.
There's definitely parts in Castellaneta's Genie where you hear the Homer slip in for a second.
Well, that's just because the Genie voice is almost his normal voice, but slightly exaggerated. But then the Homer is like a further exaggeration of that. So it's like a 3-point scale, which I personally don't view as a bad thing.
No,
I think it's unintentionally funny.
You really need to play Planescape where he voices the robot companion you can get.
And the Aladdin show, say what you will about it, there are a few lines that I quite like. Like there's a sequence where Genie loses his head and his body's searching around for him, and he like whistles for it in that old animation trope. But then he says, "What am I whistling for? I'm the part with ears."
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, there's a few good lines.
My vibes are off, so I don't have much else to say. It's weird because lately we've just been picking like really good movies and like, well, the last two we had a lot to talk about, but this one was just straight up good, but just a Disney movie. There's not a lot to talk about with it.
Well, we can pick some shittier movies if that would make you feel better.
And I mean,
it's either got to be really deep or really shitty.
There is stuff to talk about. Like, we could talk at large about how the concept of a character that is aware of his own existence in a property across different media, I think is probably the most interesting thing about the genie's character to me, is that theoretically all of his incarnations across everything, including the ones where he's voiced by different people, are all the same genie.
Yeah. Which, like, would mean that he has a terrifying amount of knowledge that, like, he's probably withholding some grand cosmic horror from the characters, just sort of not mentioning it.
Well, that is kind of
knowledge of it.
Well, because that is a strange existence to be in, because they establish that the genie is able to look into the future, but at the same time, like, does that only extend to the universe of the thing that he exists in? Like, can he only look into the future of the Aladdin movie timeline, and can he not peer over into the future of the Aladdin Activity Center continuity? Like, does every time a new Aladdin thing is made, does his consciousness expand across more media, or is he already aware of every piece of media that contains him, even the ones that don't exist yet?
Yeah. That is an interesting question. But then I feel like a more interesting question is, if he perceives those other bits of media, does he realize how cynical and lame some of them are? Like, does he start to realize that some of them are just cash grabs and they aren't actually lovingly crafted? And then how does he respond to that? Does he sort of begin to suspect that he's a commercialized product? Or does he just think that universes, some of them suck more than others?
I think it must be the latter at that point. Although it's interesting because Robin Williams also voiced the genie for one of the other PC games. I think it was Aladdin's Math Adventure. He does reprise his role as the genie in that. That's the last time he reprised his role.
Aladdin-themed custom princess maker 3D too. Where you groom Princess Jasmine.
I see. What we're coming up with is already a much better explanation for the soul space than Y2K ever did.
Oh God, let's go on a tangent about Y2K now. That sounds good. I'm just kidding. I haven't fucking played it, so I don't. I know it sucks because the fucking main character has a hipster flannel
Down syndrome,
and he looks like he's trying to be like a cool '90s guy. He's wearing like those hipster glasses, which are similar to my glasses, but I don't appreciate him making them look bad for the rest of us.
Well, to shit on Y2K briefly, because I have played it only very briefly, the thing that doesn't make any sense to me is that they say the game takes place in 1999, and yet the way the characters talk and the way it's presented, it has a very modern attitude about it.
I leveled up! Awesome sauce!
Like, no one really acts like a 90s person, which I know is a weird thing to say, but I think if they were aiming for authenticity of nailing a decade, it was sadly off.
Wow, this Sword of Kings is hella powerful. Damn, Chief.
Well, now we're dipping into like the remake of Flashback and Night in the Woods level dialogue right there.
Oh boy,
I thought I was thinking more of Life is Strange, but
that too.
That's what I was going for.
Night in the Woods is like the better of those two.
No, it isn't.
I like Night in the Woods.
Oh, you think fucking Life is Strange is better than Night in the Woods?
No, I'm not saying either.
Night in the Woods is better than Life is Strange.
I'm talking to Soy. I heard you
talking
say,
to me.
I'm sorry.
He's talking to me. I don't think it's a matter of being better. It's a matter of one being worse.
Okay.
I think it's got a bit more artistic integrity.
I don't view either of them necessarily in a good light. I'm giving Life is Strange the little bit of credit that it has, in that it has a game mechanic. Night in the Woods doesn't have game mechanics.
Okay, so that's your main point of contention. Because I mean, I don't really know anything about Night in the Woods, but I've watched the Shammy video where he explains how it's like a better narrative. But like both of the games seem like really obnoxious.
Because here's the thing: like Night in the Woods was advertised to be a much bigger game than what it was. It was meant to be like this kind of they used the word Metroidvania to describe it.
Are you serious?
I'm not joking.
That's
They
good.
said you're gonna get new abilities. You're gonna go back to previous areas, and there's gonna be this huge branching narrative. And I mean, there was a branching narrative, but I mean, it didn't really tantamount to anything. Like, at least, you know what? At least in Life is Strange, you can fucking kill Chloe.
Yeah.
At least
and
it's
it's the morally correct choice to do so.
It's not like all the plot lines just end the same way. Night in the Woods.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, I like Ashley Birch though. I mean, I don't like Chloe, but I try to give her a break because I always imagine Ashley Birch doing the VA, and I'm like, oh, I can't be mad at this.
Yeah, and I mean,
this conversation depressing.
I'm in love with Ashley Birch.
Night in the Woods.
Audience.
I certainly think Night in the Woods is better than Life is Strange visually.
Sure.
It does have a somewhat nice sense of style. I mean, I can take or leave the flat colors on everything and the perspective on some of the animals not being what I would like. How it's just like, yeah, some of us are facing the camera and some of us are permanently facing the side. Okay.
That sounds like it would fucking drive me insane.
Yeah. And there's the matter of the main character being insufferable, whereas Max doesn't really enrage me, but that's her problem. That's her problem, is that she doesn't make me feel anything.
She makes me feel pretty fucking mad when she talks about Final Fantasy Spirits Within. And
that, you know what? There are those isolated moments where it's just, why would you even think along this line of thought? Why, of all things, Final Fantasy Spirits Within?
Do you think she realizes that she's in a cheap advertisement by Square Enix for their shitty movie?
Hell the fuck no. She needs an intervention by Robin Williams. That
would be a cool bit of postmodernism. Is you're sort of like, why would I advertise that shitty movie? Am I in a sellout piece of media?
Yeah, if the genie, there needs to, somewhere knocking around the Disney vault, there's a cut of the movie where the genie's just like, what the fuck am I doing here? I don't want to service you, but I guess I have to. We're in a shitty cash grab of reinventing 1001 Nights story. What? Don't worry about it. I'll tell you what.
There's a cut version of Aladdin where he references Song of the South and he does an impression of a black guy.
If the viewer at home has time, there's a video you can watch. It's behind the scenes of the voice actors recording their lines. There's one. I mean, there's probably other videos that include this too, but there's a lot of like cut and like storyboarded Robin Williams bits that weren't included in the film and impressions. It's like 16 minutes long or so. It's pretty good. I recommend it.
Nice.
There's a part where he imitates Elmer Fudd, which I bet you can guess why they didn't include that in the film. But yeah, Eric Goldman still drew it, which I commend him for. That it got that far in the process before Disney was like, nah.
Because Elmer Fudd got canceled for doing that stuff to 14-year-olds.
And what do you recommend?
For all the WAPE allegations, as he says.
I feel really
so simple, so simple yet so effective.
Speaking of simple and effective, what's your next movie, Soy?
Simple and clean. Well, I'm kind of torn now because I was like, I could pick another good film, but at the same time, we have been picking a lot of good films.
Yeah, let's do some shit. Let's mix it up.
Yeah, well, whatever you want. Don't let us influence your choices.
No, I'm influencing the choice.
Okay.
Pick some fucking trash.
Okay. Like actually garbage or?
Oh no, I'm kidding. I don't care. Do whatever you want.
Okay. I want to do a film that's painful to watch in terms of its lost potential.
So we're watching Solo.
No, it's a film that I stated this podcast, but it's a certain version of the film. It's the official version, the Miramax version. It's The Thief and the Cobbler.
Oh yeah, okay.
With Matthew Broderick.
Oh boy.
But I thought it was unfinished. That was the whole thing about it.
Well, I mean, there's a recobbled cut hovering around the internet, which is as close to the original vision as it basically is.
But you want us to watch the shitty one?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I want you to watch the Miramax official release with all the shitty dialogue and with half the content.
Boy.
But should we also watch the good one so we can like?
If you want to, you can. It's on YouTube. I mean, I've seen the recobble cut, so if you guys don't want to, I can carry the heft on that discussion. But you should also watch. I mean, you should definitely watch it regardless because it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I won't say it's like, oh my god, it's amazing, but it's fucking leagues better than the official release.
And I'm gonna have to pick like the least animated thing ever for mine because
I think my next choice will be really fucking depressing and probably horror related.
Good.
I can't stand this.
Remember how fucking exciting I got about Plague Dogs? I like being depressed.
Yeah.
Everywhere you suck, everywhere you fuck.
There's a cock, there's a cock.
There's a better bit than mine.
It's about connections.
Next week, all 8 seasons of Full House.
It's about strands.
I mean, it is. People say that people who are humorous have faster firing neurons than people who aren't as quote unquote humorous.
Hell yeah, bro! My brain is actually literally better than yours, and that's why I get to make good jokes.
Oh, good.
What did you guys think of that episode of Full House where they go to Disney World?
I don't think I've seen that one. I've seen very few episodes of Full House, I admit.
My little sisters have watched Fuller House like 5 times, I think.
No.
Oh, yeah, there's Fuller House.
Why would you need more when you can just rewatch the 8 original Masterful seasons and you never need anything?
I don't know. I was an OG kid.
I think Masterful is a very interesting way of putting it. So even the few episodes I've seen, I don't know if I would...
Saying Bob Saget is masterful is it's quite a statement.
I mean...
Yeah, it's terrible.
I'm not going to pin it on Bob Saget in particular, but it's kind of a menagerie of me.
Dave Coulier is worse than Bob Saget. Isn't he Uncle? Is fucking unbearable.
He's Uncle Joey, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to be
the fact that he's like, I'm the funny one, and it's like, Jesus Christ, no, you're the depressing one. Like you're the fucking washed out.
Well, everyone's the depressing one in your world.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think I'm pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not really. I actually hate myself the most out of everyone. But
judging from my conversations with you do think you're pretty cool.
You know those misanthropes? They just love themselves because that's what misanthrope means, right?
I think there's multiple varieties, but I do think the people that are misanthropic and self-obsessed are mostly faking it and playing it up out of ego. People who are actually misanthropic usually also hate themselves. Like that's
that's the thing. Like it's not really misanthropic if you're doing it to fish for compliments, you know.
Well, and if you actually like anyone, including yourself, then what you're basically saying is that theoretically there could be good humans, there just aren't that many. But what I'm saying as a proper misanthrope is that theoretically there's never any good humanity ever. It's always going to be fucking dog shit. Even if all like ideal conditions were met, it's still going to be dog shit. So
I don't know. There's probably a cool caveman.
I mean, there are cool people, but only situationally, like as opposition to the abyss and the void and whatnot, and not positivity does not exist in a vacuum, is what I'm getting at. It can only be the relief from the eternal suffering. Welcome back to Antinatalist Podcast. I'm your host.
I'm your host, Whiny Crybaby.
I'm your host, Whiny Crybaby. Stop having children. Stop doing. Stop it.
Guy. And
this is me making fun of myself.
Doesn't matter.
It's important to be able to do that.
Yeah.
The ones that carry the podcast.
Stop having children. It's bad, actually.
I like the idea that you're a literal crybaby, though. Like, you're fresh out of the womb and you're complaining about being born and complaining about other babies being born.
I'm already sick of it.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a really interesting turn for the Rugrats if they ever come back to that.
It's the movie Look Who's Talking, but Bruce Willis is just like morbidly depressed the whole time. He's just like, Jesus Christ. I can't wait till I can pick up a revolver and just end this shit.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll find a way to like get out of my fucking booster seat and drop myself headfirst on the kitchen tile.
That's right.
Whether I get lobotomized or dead, either way, same result. Win-win.
Alright, so Fantasia's like a overall like a 6 out of 10.
Oh yeah, we were talking about some other film at this point. At some point.
Aladdin's an 8 or 9.
I don't want to rate these films.
Well, I'm doing it for the viewers' convenience, so that they know our opinion. They can just skip to like the last 2 minutes of the video.
We should start putting them in the description like Anthony Fantana, because no one actually watches Fantana. They just scroll to look at the number rating.
Yeah.
And then that's
but if we do, our view duration will decrease drastically, unfortunately. We won't be able to monetize the channel.
Yeah, because people are watching these whole videos and they're like, man, I sure wish the rating was in the description, because that's what I'm here for, is to see the arbitrary numerical score.
Instead, I'll write down all our good bits in the description, and they'll just do that.
You could edit bits for this week. There's a lot of good stuff you could cut. You could get Nazi.
I want to edit bits, but I'm just the depression. It's too much.
If only we.
Yeah, I feel you. What, if
so next week, Thief and the Cobbler.
I was gonna say the Thief and the Cobbler, the shitty edition, and also talking
Miramax
about
edition.
The better edition.
And at the usual, we'll talk about Kingdom Hearts and Ava and coronavirus and
all the topical.
It'll mostly just be Dunk will bring them up, and then we'll talk about them.
We'll just completely sandbag his really good bit about.
No, you don't sandbag it. That's the problem.
No,
about Shinji having sex.
What?
Like that, if you sandbagged it, the podcast would probably be better. But like, I have an illness where I can't resist bringing up the two cultural relevant bits that I know of every time we talk about anything.
It's called retardation.
Yeah.
I was wondering when you would have End of Ava as a choice, but like that means we gotta watch.
Why would I watch?
He would never choose that.
Yeah, because like.
Number one, that episode would be 24 hours long, and number two, like...
Yeah, it really would be.
I think it would be, even if it was a day, I think it would be impossible to articulate all of his feelings in that film.
Oh, yeah. Wow, you really understand me, Soy.
Plus, my computer, my poor computer's 8 gigs of RAM would not be able to handle it.
Wouldn't be able to handle Shinji's hard dick.
It's barely able to handle this.
You think Shinji's hung?
I have no idea. I don't know.
I think that's the end of the podcast, ladies and germs.
Do you think? Well, because like,
who knows? I'm gonna.
I don't know the size of 14-year-old dicks because
I'll entertain this bit for the next 2 minutes until it's an even 140.
Because I don't.
Soy already ended his, but I'll keep it going.
We're gonna taper off.
Why don't you tell them what I'm saying? Hi, my name's Ryan. That's my last name is I had a lot of insulting things to say, but I didn't say a whole lot. I don't want to be the villain. It's not that you guys are the villains, it's that you guys just carry the podcast. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think. Well, the thing is, I would also do Nazi Bentley, but like I wouldn't have a quick enough improv mind to do a good bit with it. So I would attempt it. I would sandbag it, and we'd keep talking. Almost like this one. Hey, and now we end it.